Hey guys, I'm live. I am without Jason and Paul today, otherwise known as Jack's Hawkeye, Florida, or Florida Hawkeye. We had a hard time trying to decide when the three of us could get together, and I originally thought we could get a substitute in here to cover one of them, and I wasn't having too much luck getting the substitution, so I'm going to go solo. We're going to talk a little bit about the game that was, the aftermath, the blowout, the beatdown from Ohio State. And we're going to talk a little bit about Iowa's inept offense. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks. So, have you guys heard enough about it? Have you guys don't want to hear any more about it? But I'm going to get my 2 cents in before it's too late. Okay. So here we go. All right. So as you guys know, Iowa has a great elite defense. And so yesterday, going into yesterday's game, Iowa, pretty much through the first half, thanks to its defense, s- stayed in the game through the most of the first half. Okay, despite the fact that Spencer Petras fumbled the ball once and intercepted it twice in the first half. Okay, and I believe there was another fumble not caused by him, um, but that's beside the point. Okay, so they bring in Padilla the second half. He throws an interception, and I think there's a couple of more fumbles. All in all, there were 3 fumbles or 4 fumbles on the day. I believe one of them they got back. Okay. So people have been claiming, because of Iowa's inept offense, we're not being able to score the ball, move the ball. You know, for example, the quarterbacks between the two of them managed 81 yards. Peaches threw for 49 yards. Padilla threw for 32 yards. And however, Petrus did a little bit better because he had a 5.9 quarterback rating. Padilla had a 3.1 quarterback rating. Okay, now you might say that Petrus was put in an unfair situation yesterday. Um, in at halftime, they put him in after the halftime, but Iowa, I believe, I don't have the halftime score. Somebody will have, if somebody could get it for me. Was not that far behind. I believe we were only like a 2 score, um, 2 scores away at that time. Okay, so Padilla comes in, and I believe one of his first plays was either a fumble, somebody fumbled, or yeah, I believe there was a fumble, and then his second play he threw an interception. So, um, the way it is, okay. So we didn't get off to Padilla didn't get off to a good start. Okay, himself. All right, but everybody's been clamoring for Padilla. We got Padilla, and I said I think what we saw is that Padilla didn't do any better than Peters in this game. And I know everybody's saying that he was put in an unfair situation, which he did. He went into a game that would eventually become a beatdown and a blowout, but it wasn't a blowout. Okay, it wasn't a blowout at the time that Padilla went in the game. It was still a manageable game. If we could have just start moving the ball a little bit, if we could have just had an average offense moving the ball a little bit, I think Iowa, as long as their defense kept doing the job, and we could get the defense a little bit of rest by moving the ball downfield and burning up some clock and burning up some yards and putting Ohio State in bad field position, we could have turned that game around in the second half with Padilla. Um, and Mike, I just read your comment. They need to declare this a lost season and play Labus. I don't think it's a lost season yet. And I'm going to tell you, I believe that we're going to. I think we can go 4-1 or 5-0. I know we can go 5-0. Whether we will or not is a different story, but I'm pretty sure we can at least do 4-0 or 3-2. And so I think we can go anywhere. Our season record can be anywhere from 6-6 to 8-4. That should get us into a bowl game. I'm feeling confident that they at least have 3 wins out there, but I think they can get 5. I really do. And when you think about it, these teams are they're having their own struggles. Okay, they're having their own defensive struggles. All right, and we're a pretty good defensive team. And so, yeah, will these teams move the ball a little bit on us? They will. I mean, they will move the ball on us. But if we can use our defense to slow these teams down, we will. And that's just where I want to get to is, you know, let's find out. We're going to have a nice eye opener against Northwestern this week. Okay. If we lose to Northwestern, then I say, yeah, to me, if we don't beat Northwestern, then I don't see how we beat anybody else the rest of the season. Is our offense that inept, or is the team starting to pull at each other? And they say they're not. The defense said they're still not holding the offense accountable yet. That they're still together on this. That they win and lose as a team. All right, I know these guys are working hard. Padis is working hard. Um, I mean, Petrus is working hard. Padilla is also. We know he's working hard because um, he wants to get in the game. Okay. And so I know that these guys are out there trying their hardest. These guys don't want to lose the game. They're not out there trying to lose the game on purpose. They're not out there trying to overthrow passes on purpose or underpass passes under. But there's no excuse for these quarterbacks going out there and missing wide open receivers. And the person I noticed that seems to be the wide opens the most is Arlen Bruce. He must be running good routes, or that everybody's ignoring him and just doubling up and tripling up on the Shea and Laporta because they get all the catches. They get all the throws thrown at them, all the targets. I mean, I think Laporta for the last 3 years has been our leading receiver. And so, um, yes, we're a tight end team, but we got to use our wide receivers, or we're not going to get any good ones to come to Iowa. And the ones we do get, we're going to lose. Okay, so we got to change something on our philosophy of offense. Okay, is it Brian? Is Brian the fault? Brian Ferentz the fault of the? Is he coming up with a bad offensive scheme? Is he coming up not teaching his quarterbacks what they need to do? Because after all, he is the quarterbacks coach, and our quarterbacks are struggling. Okay, and so he doesn't know what to do. But they have a quarterback advisor who should know what to do, who should be able to sit there in the film room with these guys and go over the film with them and show them what they need to do to improve themselves. Week after week, Spencer Petras comes to the news conference. He knows what he's doing wrong. He knows he's not getting the job done. He knows that his mechanics are off. Yet, when he gets into a game, he doesn't seem to be able to control those things. Okay. And so when Spencer's in there, and I think sometimes, when Spencer does find an open receiver, I think he gets excited and he just like throws it. I mean, I think he just gets excited and he gets his adrenaline gets so excited that he overthrows it, or if he tries to underthrow it a little bit and pull back, then he really underthrows it and throws it in the dirt. And so, um, yeah, Mike, I agree with you. The system has been under fire all season. Your thing is that Nate Stanley threw for the second most TDs in program history in the system. The problem is Petrus and Padilla, not the system. You know what? I'm not going to disagree with you. And the funny thing about it is, Mike, if you remember right, Nate Stanley took a lot of heat. Everybody wanted him out of there, if you remember right. They were anxious to see Petrus get in there. They thought Petrus would be the next coming of Chuck Long, and I don't know. I think Stanley, did he break some of Chuck Long's records? Let me know if he did, but yes, he is the second most prolific quarterback in Iowa history, and he didn't even get any credit for it that season. He was being hammered by the fans just as much as Petrus is this year, and that's just too bad. But I don't know where Labus is on the depth chart as far as playing him right now. I do believe he will be our starting quarterback next year. Spencer's used up his eligibility. Well, I guess he hasn't because he has a COVID year, but I don't think he'll be back for the COVID year. He'll either call it quits or he'll find a team where he can go play and be more effective. And I don't see after the way Padilla is being treated this year, not playing. I don't see him sticking around unless he just wants to finish getting his master's degree at Iowa. Because or another bachelor's degree because I believe he'll be finished up too. And so yeah, that just depends on him where Padilla is. Right now I predict Padilla is going to go to the transfer portal and play his last year of eligibility somewhere else. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I remember you go. Yeah, you're a big Stanley guy. I was too. I was too. And you heard about how Petrus broke all of Goff's records that season. I think everybody heard that, and I think everybody thought that that was going to be the second coming of Jared Goff. But you know what? I mean, Goff isn't really lighting it up in the NFL, is he? Maybe he is. So, but yeah, I don't. That's funny. Yeah, you remember too how he took all the heat too. So, and and part of that was I was doing a podcast with another person at that time. You guys might remember I was doing a podcast with Nolan Hawkeye Anthony at the time, and we talked about that. And I think we both were defending Nate Stanley through and through. That how can you knock him down when he was, when he was literally the best second best quarterback I was had. Okay, okay, okay. And Mike, you said apparently Padilla doesn't really care about playing. He's more about his education. Just a rumor, but it's out there. Yeah, a lot of rumors get out there. A lot of people know stuff. The people forget that these guys are students and they're out there in the everyday world. And um, these guys talk. They talk to their friends. They talk to their family. You know, and whether they mean to or not, they say some things that they're feeling at the time, and those things get out there. And then somebody will, those things get out there where people will talk to people. And maybe he's just telling, maybe PD is really saying, I don't know if I really want to play quarterback anymore. Maybe I just want to finish my education and get out of here. Um, things like that. I will tell you that, it's probably a good thing that he's putting his education first because he's doubt he's going to play in the NFL anytime. Um, so I'm sure he won't play in the NFL anytime. So he's going to need that education and that degree. Mm, yeah. And I heard those rumors too that he was missing meetings because of it, because he's taking more classes than a normal person would. But if he's trying to graduate by December, that's why he would be doing that. If he's trying to get out by graduating December, he'd be taking more classes and more hours than he should. And during the football season, they in the fall they traditionally take a lighter load and then take a heavier load in the spring semester. So um, that could be the case. But I also heard that rumor too. And so I really have. So I mean, kind of getting back to the things. I think one of the bright spots in yesterday's game was the 49-yard field goal kick by Drew Stevens. That's really nice. I mean, after I think he missed a similar field goal against Illinois that would have tied the game up and potentially sent it to overtime. Um, so that's nice that he bounced back like that for a freshman. That just shows me he's got some moxie. Um, and so I really like that. But getting back to the quarterback situation, though, you know, um, Padilla. Honestly, I had to watch the second half on my cell phone because honestly, and I wasn't paying 100% full attention to the second half like I should have, um, because I was watching the MMA fights at my daughter's house. And so, but what I was watching on my cell phone, I wasn't that impressed with what Padilla was doing. Not that much. He did hit on 5 of 10 for passing, 50%. So he bettered last year's 49% average that he had, and Padilla was 6 for 14 for 49 yards. So neither one lit it up, guys. But at the same time, did it surprise you guys that Ohio State's defense was as good as it was? I Ohio State traditionally hasn't had a great defense. Um, they've let teams in. They've just basically outscored teams, and so it surprised me that I knew that their defense was better. I didn't think it was going to be that much better, but with Iowa's inept offense, it didn't. They probably made their defense look like world beaters yesterday. Um, but guys, also too in the news conference yesterday, um, a person from one of the Ohio State beat writers called Kirk out for nepotism, and of course, I think Kirk handled it with class, and he handled it better than I probably would have. I mean, I probably would have I would probably lashed out at the guy. Um, but this morning, a friend of mine, Pat Kenny, after we posted that on our website about that interview and the article that went with it, where the guy totally blasts Kirk Ferentz and blaming Kirk Ferentz for all the issues going on right now because he's got his son there as his offensive coordinator, and he won't do what it takes to right the ship. He's being stubborn, and so he's destroying the program, and basically he's hurting the fans, and he's hurting his players. He's hurting the coaching staff by not doing what he needs to do. And so yeah, and Mike, I agree with you. Going back to that comment you have, Alex never really has been the better alternative. And which is the reason why Petrus got the job back last season. Of course, that's I've been saying that all season. If Padilla had been the better situation, he would have been playing. The really thing I think I agree with you on is we need to take a serious look at Labus. Um, and I think if things don't improve, they've got to at least give him a package and put him out there for a couple of drives just to see what he can do and put him in a situation where it's not where they're down 30 points like they were yesterday. I think they just got to put him out there where put him out there where he has a chance to succeed and just see what he can do. I'm sure that Labus has more to learn on the playbook, but he's there's rumors out there that he's looking better in practice than the other two, but because this is his first real year in the program. Yes, he was last year, but he played at scout team quarterback where he was playing. He was mimicking the quarterbacks of all the other teams that they were playing. So he wasn't running the Iowa stuff on the scout team. Um, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I predict that Labus, or if they're open to it, this Marco guy coming next year, I would love to see him get a shot. You know, right now his high school stats are really good, and he can get out of trouble by using his feet. Really, we need quarterback. With the way our offensive line has been, if we can have a quarterback that can get out of trouble using his feet to get out of trouble, or just prolong. You guys have seen some of those great quarterbacks that when Iowa's got them dead to rights, but they use their feet. They either run for a first down or they run side to side for a minute until they can find somebody open, and then they make an accurate pass for a first down. Usually, like on 3rd and 20 or 4th and 15 or something like that. And so you guys have all seen that. That's what Iowa needs in a quarterback with the type of offensive line we're using, because right now, um, um, the offensive line is they're a little weak right now. They're a little young and inexperienced, but they're sophomores. Guys, remember the 2019 team I think they lost some people early to the NFL. Okay, I believe all 5 of the starters from 1995 are all now starting in the NFL from that line. Okay, and so we've had to replace those guys over the last couple of seasons. And you got to remember too that we've also not only have we lost some early entrants, like Tyler Linderbaum, to the NFL early. Um, we also lost some people off the team that would have been juniors and seniors this year that went elsewhere. Izra Milla is one guy that comes to mind. We also lost another young man who I think would have been really good, and I don't know if we've lost him for good or if we're going to get him back. David Davidoff. I mean, nobody's saying anything, just that he's not available this year. So I believe whatever's going on with him, he's taking this year to think about whether or not he wants to play football. Or if he's injured, if somebody really knows the true story, what's going on. My rumors are that he's taking the year off from football to decide whether he wants to play football and whether he wants to play at Iowa ever again. We'll find that out at the end of the season. Okay, Mike, you said I know that Coach Hack would shout blasphemy over this statement, but Joey Labus only knowing 30% of the playbook can't be much worse than Padilla and Peters who know 100% of it. Um, yeah, I don't even know how much of the playbook the guy knows. They say it's really complicated to be an Iowa quarterback. Why is it so complicated on the offense? Does it have to be that complicated? Nobody else is that complicated and they do well. Take a look at Ohio State and how they score points. Is that complicated what they do? I don't think so. Not in my book. It doesn't appear to be. I could be wrong on that, but it doesn't appear to be. It just appears to be really simple. Go out there, run your route, and throw them the ball. Okay. But teams are going to come after Petrus or Padilla, whoever's going to be out there at quarterback, and Labus if they decide to use him. They're going to come after them the rest of this season because they know Iowa's having a hard time running the ball. So they're going to make Iowa do what they can't do, and that's throw. Throw. All right. Iowa can't throw. All right. And that's the only way Iowa's going to beat people this year is throwing. If you guys remember right, we had a situation back when I think Drew Tate's first year, his sophomore year as quarterback. They went against the grain. They did more throwing than they did running because they were down to like fifth, sixth string running backs. And they were serviceable, but they weren't knocking it dead. And so they got Drew State. They used Drew Tate and got him out of the pocket more, had him run and use different plays. And he was constantly throwing on the run. He was a very accurate thrower on the run. But they would move that pocket and get it away. And so I believe that was a Kendall Keith's share of offensive coordinator. So he was taking he's looking at where's our weakness, where's our strength. Let's play to our strengths and let's make an adjustment on our offense. And I believe this is something that's not happening now at Iowa. They're not making the adjustments that they need to make to the people they've got. Right now they put a system in place and you either succeed in the system or you don't. But the system right now, while it works for some years, it doesn't work every year because some years they've got the right players to run it. Some years they don't. And right now we don't have the right players to run this system. And while I feel like in Caleb Johnson, we have a future star running back, and the Williams are serviceable, both Williams, they're not the answer to our running back. We've got another running back, a fourth running back who hasn't played yet, who's also a freshman. Maybe he gets a chance. I don't know. To show his stuff before the year's over, but I don't see how we can have a successful running game with the Williamses playing. Like I said, they're serviceable. They do fine. They're doing okay, but they're not Tyrone Tracy. Not Tyrone Tracy. Tyler Goods. They're not Tyler Goodson or Aquan Wadley. Those guys could bust it off. Yes, did those guys get knocked down for yard losses and short yardage? They did, but they were also a threat to break it every time they touched the ball. They were a threat to break it, and both of them did. Both of them would break off long runs, so they more than made up for their losses. And so that's what we don't have. We don't have a decent running game. We don't have a deep passing game. We never have. But unfortunately, the one guy who could do that, if we could get him the ball, is only played in one game this year. Um, and so we're getting awfully close to where where he can redshirt. We have 5 regular seasons games left, and I don't know if the bowl counts. So if we go to a bowl game, that would be 6 games. So he's played in one, so he can only play in 3 more games, right? And so, hang on for a second. Yeah, and Goodson left a year early too, guys, and I wish we had him back. I wish we had him back this year for his senior year. There you go. So yeah, there's somebody at my front door. I'm here in the studio. Okay, hang on for a second, guys. I know I'm live. What's up? Okay, could you just put him on the counter right now? Because I'm live right now. Thanks. Okay, so all right, I'm back. I'm sorry, guys. That was live. That's what happens when you do live. I can't edit that out. We're there with it. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, well, it doesn't even have to be a medical red shirt, Mike. Right now it's set up to where anybody can take a red shirt if they play in 4 or less games, and so we're getting close to that for um, Keegan Johnson, and I would love to see him come back. But I have this fear. I'm hearing rumors about him too, but I don't know what kind of the thing does. Does Padilla start next week, guys? I think Padilla is going to be our quarterback this week. I think they're going to look and see what he can do, put him out there, but I believe it, Casey. I do believe that he's going to be our quarterback this week. Then we'll see where it goes from there. Was it the Northwestern game that Padilla started last year and then had to come out? And I don't remember. We didn't lose Northwestern last year, did we? Gosh, guys, when you're getting old like me, seasons start to run together. Especially when you got teams like Purdue and Northwestern that beat you on a regular basis. No, I think we beat Northwestern last year. But so anyway, I want to keep moving on. Does it seem like to you guys like lately the defenses know exactly what we're going to run? That they're almost there to the person getting the ball before the person gets the ball. Like they're almost there, waiting for the person to get it, and then they drop them. To me, it seemed like that. Is Iowa that predictable, or is Iowa? Are they actually showing? Are they actually showing the defense what they're doing? What do you guys think? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mike. Mike said that Padilla came in during the Northwestern game and played the next game and started against Nebby before being benched. You're right. You're right. I think he. Yeah. You're right. The Nebby game is when he came out. I don't know if it was halftime or quarter or whatever, but I think both of those guys, both Petrus and Padilla, were sick that week, and that's where the famous comment from Kirk Ferentz that he wasn't going to take if he had to go to Nebraska and play at Nebraska with Hogan as our quarterback, that he would have left the team back in Iowa City. That's the excuse that Deuce Hogan used to leave Iowa. At least that's what his mom said to the public. I don't think Deuce ever said publicly why he left. It might have been more. There might have been other reasons why Deuce left, but that was it. Um, Casey, you saying that there's a small chance that we'll make a bowl game with Padilla. Honestly, I think we're going to make a bowl game. I believe we got 3 wins out there for sure, and I believe we can get 5. I believe we can get 5. So, just to put that out there, I'm believing that we can get 5 wins. I really do. Um, Mike, you saying that was such a bad move by Kirk? I'm a Kirk guy. You don't throw guys under the bus like that. Yeah, I bet I think if Kirk had it to take back, he would have. not done that. Kirk doesn't usually throw his guys under the bus. He really doesn't. What and I think he regrets that. I think he as soon as it came out of his mouth, I bet he regretted it. Um, and that was stupid. When I first heard that, I thought, no, Kirk, that's not you. You're just so giddy over the Nebraska win that you completely lost yourself on that, and we're falling into a trap that the media can get you to say things that you don't really want to say. And so, but yeah, because my understanding was is Deuce was supposed to play that game, start that game, and they had a package for him. And yet, when it came time to play him, they went with the sick guy on the team, Padilla, and Petrus was also sick, so they stuck with the two sick guys and didn't go with the healthy guy. Other teams aren't afraid if they prepare their guys. Their other teams aren't afraid to play their second and third string quarterback but if they prepare them. From the beginning, Byron Ferentz has said that on interviews all during camp and after camp that they were fast tracking Levis. They were going to fast track him so they could get him up to speed quickly. They didn't want another situation like what happened with Hogan. So they were fast tracking him. Well, if they're fast tracking him, he must know something. Like Mike, you said earlier that maybe he knows 30% of the playbook. If he knows that much, then let's run 30% of the playbook with him. Let's give him a try. Um, Mike, I don't remember if Deuce got mop up action or not. Did we score enough points? Because we were getting criticized for our offense last year too. Did we score enough points that game to have him go in and do mop up? Um, that would be surprising if we did because despite of our offense last year, we won 10 games. And as Kirk says, need I remind you guys, we won 10 games last year. Need I remind you that we won our share of games over the years? Doing this system, so the system's not broke. It might be broke if you've used it too long. I mean, sometimes if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get some bad things happen. I mean, because everybody in the Big Ten knows knows our system. They know it well, and I think you got to applaud the coaches that come in and find the weaknesses. Coach Brom at Purdue openly admits that he knows where Iowa's weaknesses are, and he game plans around their weaknesses. Um, and that's why they so frequently beat us. Yeah. I believe that this is the year. If we're going to beat Purdue, this is the year we can do it. Despite Charlie having a great year, I think we can beat him. Okay. Anyway, going back on down my list. Okay. So what do you guys think? Does Brian got to go? Is the system all tired and is it broken? I think it's time for a new system. I think great quarterbacks recruit the very very best players they can and make adjustments and tweak their offenses every year to around the person that they've got. Like one of the things I think that killed Frost at Nebraska is he had a couple of quarterbacks who could run, but he made them into pocket passers. Okay, and when they only, I don't think they ran anything by design. I think they ran when they got in trouble. Um, Mike, Mike, I gotta believe that. I think Brian's leaving after this year. I think Brian's had enough heat. I think he's going to go after this year. I think he's going to take an NFL job. I don't see Brian coming back next year, um, but yeah, I would be okay with Brian coming back for another year with Labus, as long as they tweak the offense to make him successful. They have to tweak the system to make their quarterback successful. Okay, they have to. If they're not going to do that, then they need to move on. Yeah, and I agree with you, Casey. Of course, that's going to be a step down from where he's at now, unless they keep him, unless he does offensive coordinator and O line. But right now, he's taking the heat for having a bad offensive scheme. Okay, he's taking a lot of heat. So would that make sense to keep him as offensive coordinator and then put him on the line? We definitely need a better line coach. I don't think Barnett's doing the job. These guys should be coming along quicker than they have. This isn't the first time that Iowa's used inexperienced young linemen. Okay, and I believe if you add up all the linemen starts together, I believe Chad Lysico said in his article that the current linemen have 63 starts total. If you add up every one of their starts over the last 2 years, and so that's a lot, guys. They should be knowing what they're doing by now. So if they're not knowing what they're doing by now, then then it's a coaching issue, right? And between the bad running game and the bad O line and maybe a bad worn out offensive scheme. I mean, Iowa's never ever let the world on fire with their offense. They've always had their defense, always kind of come around and score points. Like when let's face it, when we beat Ohio State in the woodshed game in 2017, I believe a couple of those touchdowns went to the defense, or the defense set the offense up in a very good position to score. Okay. And then, so Mike, again, you're saying if we lose him, go get an actual former QB coordinator to coordinate the offense. It doesn't have to be a modern college offense. It can still be an Iowa offense, but get a former QB to call the plays. Okay, I'd go along with that. In other words, find somebody who fits what Kirk wants to do on offense, but can do the job better, right? Do the job better. Yeah. And is Brad Banks coaching, guys? Casey, you said you'd like to see Brad Banks be the OC. Is he actually coaching? Um, that's the thing. Or Drew Tate. No, Drew Tate. No, I think he is a coach, but is he an offensive coordinator? Honestly, these are two of the more successful quarterbacks that we've had in the past. Um, and if anything, these guys could come in and be quarterback coaches, and teach these guys, a little thing about quarterbacking, because we all know that Brad Banks was very successful in his one season as a quarterback, and Drew Tate over 3 years did a very good job. He didn't have a great team around him, so the record wasn't outstanding, but they never had a losing season with Drew Tate. Um, and so, but yeah, I'd be okay with either one of those guys. Could be OC plus quarterback coach. Maybe it's time to bring some of those guys on and they know the Iowa system. They know it very well. They've played in it. They both are quarterbacks, so they both understand what's expected out of the quarterback. But you guys got to understand that both Drew Tate and Brad Banks weren't the typical pocket passers in his coach. Those are the only two times that I can remember that they changed up the offense to match what the quarterback can do. Okay, Drew Tate is a QB coach at UNI, I believe, but it would be perfect fit if he run Kirk's offense because he brings awareness being a former. Yeah, I just said that too in different words. So yeah, good point, Mike. I believe that's a great point. I like that. Okay. And so yeah, so here's what I kind of thought, and I think we're all kind of like all you guys that have been helping on this broadcast. I really appreciate you guys at contributing and adding your comments. It's making it more fun, more easier. Even if it gets me off sidetrack a little bit. I love answering your questions and going with your opinions on things. Okay. Oh, okay. Casey says that he's actually Drew Tate is actually a tight ends coach. Okay. You'd argue that C.J. Beathard would change the offense. They called a ton of to CJ could work magic with it. Like you said, let CJ work his magic. Yeah, he can work magic with his legs. And honestly, I think it got him hurt in one of the games, guys. It was he the one that got hurt really bad, and then we tried to use him in the bowl game, and he just couldn't perform, and they let him ride it out, even though it was clear in the bowl game that he could not play any longer, and they refused to pull CJ out of the game because CJ was a senior and deserved the right to play in the bowl game. But was it fair to the rest of the team to not bring in a healthy quarterback at that point? But yeah, CJ wasn't as scared to get hit. He wasn't scared to use his legs. If a play broke down, yeah, you're right. I would throw him up there with Tate and Brad Banks as good runners. Like I said, these guys except for Brad Banks, I don't think they ever actually called plays for the quarterback to run the ball because they just were able to get out of trouble. Yeah, I agree on that, Mike. CJ played through a ton of injuries, but we knew nothing about the uh, about about it. And yeah, and then he definitely pulled a Brett Favre a few times. Um, I'm gonna let that one go for a minute. Okay. You guys can hear my ringtone. We think we all I think we agree that Brian needs to coach the line because Brian is good at that. Okay. Unless Kirk wants it back, you know. But one of the things too, when you think about it, is Iowa's season so far. 7 games into the season, they have played 5 top 10 defenses. Think about that. I mean, the defenses have really been good. So yeah, and I just think that the inept offense, our bad offense, our offensive scheme, and everything has really put good defense to waste. The defense have done enough in most of the games to win. They really have. And honestly, I'll be honest. Honestly, we could have won the Michigan game if we'd had a better offense. And we would have definitely won the Iowa State game with a better offense. We probably would have won it. I believe that's the game where we fumbled away the winning touchdown at the goal line. So we could have won that game. Ohio State, I don't think we were ever going to win that. Even if we had a decent offense, we were never going to win that game. Could we have saved it from being the beatdown that it was? Oh, speaking of that, am I not mistaken in thinking that Ohio State last 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter were by the first team and the first team quarterback? Were they still throwing at the end of the game to run up the score? Do people really enjoy running the score up on Iowa like Michigan did in the title game last year? They obviously ran the score up. There was no need to. They had the game won. Going into the fourth quarter, um, the only way Iowa could have won that game was to score 4 touchdowns and a field goal. That wasn't going to happen. They had that game won. Did they really need to be throwing the ball all over the field and throwing for touchdowns for the last 2 touchdowns? They did not. Ohio State, I hope that comes to burn you one day. I would love to see Iowa get to the point where we can beat Ohio State on a regular basis and then run up the score on them. Or is that paybacks for the woodshed game? Because Coach Ryan Day was a part of the assistant coach on that team that got beat down, and he hadn't really forgotten about it, even though he probably doesn't have a player on the team that played in that game. You know, yeah, Mike. Yeah, I agree with you. We should be 6-1 right now. We really could. Yeah, could it be? Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying, is guys, is with we could have beat Illinois with a better offense. Had we had decent offenses, we would be 6-1 right now. Because I don't think we'd have beat Ohio State no matter what happened. Because Iowa's offense has never been prolific enough that we could keep up with somebody like that. Okay. I like Mike's question. I don't care who the O line coach is in 2023 as long as it's not George Barnett. Yeah, I don't know what George is doing. These guys should be playing better than they are. And, um, then he comes in. Of course, he changes things up. But these guys were all new anyway for him. They're all new together. I mean, so um, I wanted to. This has been a great discussion. I appreciate you guys hanging on. I want to bring out, because this would be the podcast that would have include Jason and Coach Hack. So I just want to put out there that we how we did on our games this week. Paul and I did. We went 6-1 in our games this week, and Jason went 5-2. So Jason's still in first place at 16-9. I'm in second at 15-10, but Paul finally has a winning record after several weeks, and he's 13-2. I mean 13-12. So um, in the West, Illinois still did at 3-1. They must have been on a bye week this week. We have Purdue at 3-2, Nebraska at 2-2, Wisconsin at 2-3, Minnesota at 1-3, Iowa at 1-3, and Northwestern at 1-3. Iowa can get themselves out of the cellar this week by beating Northwestern. Um, and so, did Purdue have a bye week? No, not Purdue. We're playing Northwestern. I think Purdue has a bye week next week, guys. Um, and so that's going to be sad because I hate to have the idea of having going going to Purdue and playing them in their home turf when they have a bye week, an extra week to prepare for us. Okay. Yeah, Mike. That's what I said. We don't need a great offense. We just need a top, like you said, a top 80 offense would be it all. And I mean, over the years, Iowa's done that with their 10-win, 11-win seasons. They've been top 80, top 70. They've not been great. They've been serviceable. They've been serviceable enough to do what they need to do because they get help from their defense to help them. Okay. Okay. So, one other thing before I close off, guys. Thank you for letting me vent. And I appreciate you guys. You guys kind of helped direct this um show today, and I appreciate you guys help doing that. One thing is I want to say is you guys. And I'm going to switch to basketball real quick. Keegan Murray made his debut with the Sacramento Kings last night. Um, his first points of the game of his NBA official career. His first official points of his career were a 3-pointer, and he finished with 19 points on the night. So good job, Keegan, in your debut. Keep it up, buddy. I hope you're faring better than Wieskamp and um, Luca Garza are. Okay. Yeah, Casey. We actually tried to get the three of us to do a Sunday show tonight, but Coach Hack wasn't able to, so I just decided to do this solo. But I can go solo more if you guys want me to. This was fun. I appreciate all you guys's. And my buddy Alex there. Alex, you coming on at the end. My granddaughter's coming on at the end. Guys, I'm wrapping it up. You guys should have been here earlier. Um, by the way, that was my granddaughter at the front door, guys, when I had to leave this thing for temporarily. But here she is on here saying hi. So, okay. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you guys. Hey, go to YouTube. I mean, you're at YouTube, but go ahead and share this with your friends. It was a great show. We talked about your comments. Let your friends know about your comments and everything on here, and let's see if we can get this up to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not already subscribing, subscribe. If not, share it with your friends and have them subscribe too. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it.